Hey, welcome to another episode of Huffer and Friends. This is a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and relationships. I'm your host, Huffer. I'm the lead pastor at the Gathering Christian Church in Naples, Florida. And what we do every episode on this podcast is I introduce you to some of my friends that have helped me flourish in life and relationships, because I think they will help you flourish in those areas as well. And so we are in the middle of a series on how to study the Bible, how to read the Bible. What role does the Bible play in helping you flourish in life, in relationships? So we've been talking about several things about, reading in context and looking for the author's intended meaning, but ultimately, how do you obey this thing? It's not about knowledge, it's about life change. That's really the goal. And today, I'm taking some time with some of my friends, Lindsey Bright and JD Miller. You've met both of them before on the podcast. Hey guys, good to have you back. Are your microphones working?
Oh yeah.
I think so.
Mine
There
is
you go.
operational.
Okay. Awesome. And they are here to just help us ask questions I think people might want to ask a pastor or ask me about the role the Bible plays, and how do you interact with this weird old book, and does it really have any impact on your life? And so that's the goal today. Again, as always, if you want to follow along with what we're doing, you can follow us on our Instagram account. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can like us and follow on Apple or Spotify podcasts. So before we jump into the topic of the day, how have you guys transitioned from summer to the school year? We're about a month in at this point to the school year. And so how have you all going from summertime to kids are at school, buses are coming, and you're figuring all the logistics out?
I hate that summer is over, and I hate that you're back in school, but I love having a quiet house. I was so excited that day that my kids went back to school. It was so exciting. I celebrated. So it's good. I'm glad the kids are back in school. I'm glad they have a routine. We spent the entire summer in Illinois for the most part, and you're kind of off schedule just because you're not doing your normal stuff. You're eating out. I think I ate out for dinner every single night while I was in Illinois.
How's that any different than when you're in Naples, Lindsey?
That's true. We've been really good for 4 days. 4 days.
Yes, I got her.
And Nick asked me today, he's like, don't forget, I'm going to play golf tonight. I have golf tonight. And I said, okay, so are we meeting for dinner? He's like, we've been really good this week. Do you really want to screw it up by going to play golf? Or by going to dinner? And I was like, he's like, he's like, I do have to go to Phil's house to pick something up. I'm like, he's like, but you can probably talk me into it. So let's be on it. And I told myself, I usually have wine Wednesdays, which we've discussed on this podcast before. And Katie messaged me yesterday. She's like, so are we doing wine Wednesday tonight or what? And I said, I'm trying not to have anything to drink all week. So I've been doing really good, except if I go to dinner tonight, I'll probably have a drink. So I've been doing so good.
You just have to do Fine Wine Fridays.
Fine Wine Fridays. That's a good. Maybe Fine Wine Fridays. I like it. So,
there you go. I got you, girl.
Or Fancy Wine Fridays.
Fancy wine.
Ooh, I like that one too. So,
JD, What about you, man? How's the transition from summer to school been?
It's earlier. It's early. Our kids are getting on a bus super early.
Yeah.
But I also am appreciative of getting back into routine. The routine. I'm not an organized guy, so any sort of structure that can get created around me is very valuable. I don't do great at creating that structure, but man, do I need it to survive. So I'm appreciative of that.
My old staff at College Heights in Joplin would always laugh at me because I would always do the same speech at the beginning of summer, the beginning of fall, where it's like summer will wear you out in a different way. It's full court press basketball. Everybody's running here, there, You have to communicate a lot because you're just like this place and that place, and you're just going hard and nothing's normal. You're just running around like crazy. Whereas the school year is like powerlifting. You do the same exact motion every single day, just again and again and again. It's just heavy and it just grinds you. Both are exhausting in totally different ways.
Yep.
And so just getting that mind shift, I feel like even this is our first week of school, or we just finished our first week of school, and it was like, every day I'm doing the same thing, and there's something about it's like, oh, this is so much better than just doing random crazy stuff and having one week here, another week not.
Until we hit January, February,
That's
and
right.
We're in the midst of the grind, and we're like, oh, I just need a summer break right now. Yeah.
I'm ready for the full court press basketball. So anyway, awesome. Well, hey, today we're going to jump into the idea of how do you interact with this thing called the Bible? Like, how do you study it? How do you read it? What do you do with it? How does it impact your life and your relationships and help you flourish in those areas? And so I want to start off with any questions you guys might have, any fun questions, is any like interesting questions, quirky questions that you might think someone might want to ask me or you want to ask me.
If you were going to have a cup of coffee, I really like my coffee, by the way, can you tell? If you're going to have a cup of coffee, the character from the Bible, which character would it be?
Oh, Paul, absolutely. He was a church planner. He started lots of churches, and that's
someone I want to. Have you been asked this question before? That was like,
nope. But well, I probably have. Paul is my guy. Like, I just love reading about him in the Book of Acts and his boldness, his courage. He's a little intense. Like, he probably he thinks I think he thinks of himself having some abilities that he maybe doesn't have and gets him in trouble sometimes. But you know, if you don't know my story or our story, we started a church in Naples, Florida. It's almost a year old. It launched last September of 2024. And so being a church planter, starting new churches, that entrepreneurial spirit is something that I have. I was born with and raised in. My dad and both my granddads are entrepreneurs. And so Paul, I feel like, is the spiritual entrepreneur of the New Testament. And I would want to sit with him and just ask him tons of questions. How do you start a movement? How do you plant churches? How do you raise up leaders? Those would be the questions I'd want to sit with him. I assume that Jesus was not like, that was obviously the first answer that I think everyone gives.
Yeah,
other than Jesus.
You got to take Jesus out of it.
Yeah,
everybody
it's
answers
like,
Jesus.
I wasn't including Jesus in the Bible.
Yeah,
I assume
Jesus is everybody's number one answer.
Jesus is number one, but any other character would be Paul.
Yeah. Man, for me, I've got to say Peter. Peter has such a story, and as I grew up, as I matured in my faith in my teens, one of the things I realized very quickly is how much I related to Peter. He was very bold, but often stuck his foot in his mouth. And so I have a tendency to do that. I also battle the shame that Peter dealt with. And so a lot of my life and a lot of my faith has been connecting to the way Peter is constantly redeemed by Jesus, constantly restored and retitled is the only way I want to say it, because that feels like the best. When he gives him the name Peter, meaning rock, that's a huge moment. And to me, that I've always connected with that because I feel like there's an identity change there, that Jesus gives him an identity change. And I feel like a lot of who I have been has changed because of Jesus. So I definitely connect a lot with Peter. That's who I want to have coffee with. I want to know, what was it like walking on that water? What was it like falling in? As you were standing there, was it really, was it 3 times that Jesus said, I love you, or do you love me? It just, all of that. I want to soak up those moments. I want to hear what that was like firsthand.
What about you, Lindsey? Who would you have your Black Americana with?
I think for me as a mom, I think it would be Mary. Just to hear what it's like to raise the Son of God, to raise Jesus, and hear about the stories that we may not have ever heard.
Oh, that's good.
Can you imagine abounding energy like that? I mean, he had to have been.
Like, think about how proud you are as a parent of your children. Like, and just imagine if you were married.
It's a cool phrase. I don't ever know what to do with it, but it's like when Jesus is a kid and he leaves the group and stays at the temple and is teaching the priests, and he's 12 years old, and he's gone for 3 days, and the parents come back and they're like, "Why would you do this to me?" He goes, "Wouldn't you know I'm at my father's house?" And then it says Mary treasured these things in her heart.
I love that.
And I just wonder how many that's one story that she treasured in her heart of his childhood.
How many moments did he showcase himself to be the Son of God even in childhood, in kindness, in generosity, in
and they're
wisdom,
not written down
beyond
like
his
we don't have
years.
them.
And she has all these beautiful memories of seeing that firsthand. That would be so incredible.
That's cool. I think you could even ask her the question, Mary, did you know?
Oh, God, no. But now I feel bad for Jesus' siblings, because could you imagine having Jesus as your brother? Oof.
Oh,
Oof.
I used to go every year.
Speaking of coffee, I have to make myself a coffee, so my computer's going with me.
Every year we would play a musical number at another church in town, the Methodist church, and every year before their Christmas service and before we played our song, this lady sang "Mary, Did You Know" on guitar, and I could hear it. I can hear it right now on that acoustic guitar, her singing "Mary, Did You Know." So, good. JD, what's your question, man?
Isn't it special? Oh gosh. Okay. Man, I think this is the basic question that most everybody's going to ask you. Where do I start? That Bible's a big book.
Yeah.
I can maybe get through Genesis and Exodus, but I get to those weird books like Deuteronomy and Numbers and Leviticus, and I don't know what to do with it, and I get bored. I can't stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do I go Matthew? But then Matthew, you start with a bunch of names. Like, just what do I do here? Where do I start?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always encourage two places to start. I think you start with Jesus. I think our whole faith centers around him, and so I would read the Gospels. I would read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and I would either read Mark or John is where I would start. I think Mark is, if you just want to know the story, like who is Jesus? It's 16 chapters. You can knock it out in half a month, and one chapter a day, and you're going to get the story of Jesus. Not his birth. You probably already know that. Mark doesn't start there. It starts as him as an adult getting baptized and starting his ministry. And it just goes from bang, 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 story to story to story to story to the crucifixion and the resurrection. And so
Mark's
I would
the action movie version of it.
Mark is the absolutely action movie version. And if that's who you are and you just want to know, like, just the facts, ma'am, like give me the facts kind of guy, start there. If you're an artist and you want to know the beauty of Jesus, and the wonder and the awe of him, I would go John. John's an artist. He wrote to Greek philosophers, basically, but he wrote in the common language, what they call Koine Greek, which is for the commoners, not the classical Greek. And so, because of that, the purpose of his book is very simple. It states at the end that you might believe that Jesus is who he says he is. That's the purpose of his book. And so, reading John is great. John is really going to help you understand Jesus' claims to deity as God, what him dying on the cross means for you. The only thing with John that I think a lot of people say, read John first, and I think it's good to do. The only thing that struggles with John is that Jesus has a lot of like sermons or long monologues that he talks about that are kind of hard to understand. Mm-hmm. So that's why John can be a little bit harder. You're the best, Lindsey.
Lindsey's brewing extra coffee for herself.
But John is good. Matthew and Luke are both, and if you read one of those, I would just go to one of the other ones. I would just read the Gospels, and I would live there for a season.
So start with the Gospels. Go to Jesus first. I like it.
Yeah, Mark, John, Matthew, Luke. That's probably the order I would do it in.
I think this question is more in general, because I've had this question before, and I've now been helped. But for you, like, you know, I've never been one to like fully, like, I have to really focus on reading to really like grasp what I'm reading. And so I think reading the Bible, by the way, this is an actual me question, just for the record. Reading the Bible can be confusing, and like you read something and like there's times that I have to read it multiple times to like try to understand. And I mean, even I know that we do our small group, and in small group there are days that I'm like, we read these verses and I'm like, I have no idea what this, like, I'm not good at reading something and being like, okay, this is like the hidden meaning behind what he's saying. I'm not good at that. So how do you, like, what can people do to get around that, to make it like more relatable and understandable? I mean, I know that I have now a different version of the Bible that I'm reading, and it helps, but like, explain like what people can do to get around that, because like, I know I personally struggle when I read something that, like, okay, I don't really get the reason behind, I don't really get the context behind this.
Yeah.
I'm just
That's a
reading
great question. I would encourage a couple things, and I don't know how many. I'm just going to say, here's a couple of 3 things I'm going to say. First one, get a good Bible, a good version of the Bible. Okay, something that's readable, easily, that's readable. Okay, not something that is literal or really scholarly literal. But like, there's some versions that are very much like, we're going to translate word for word. Well, it makes it very clunky in English to do that, because English grammar is different than Greek grammar. So I would choose more of a paraphrase that makes it more readable for your normal English speakers. Something like the New Living Translation or even the Message. I would choose one of those 2 things. It makes it a little bit more cookies on the lower shelf kind of thing. Okay, don't use King James. I know there's a whole movement of people that say King James is the only book version you should use. Don't. There's manuscript evidence that proves that otherwise. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I would choose one of those versions of the Bible. That would be number 1. Number 2, I would read the Bible with other Christians in some kind of Bible study, in a home group where you hear people discuss and talk about it. Learning the Bible is like learning a foreign language. It really is. And you can study that foreign language on your own. You can learn the grammar. You can learn the vocabulary. You can learn books and watch movies. You won't be able to really learn the language well until you talk about trying to use the language with other people. And the same is true for church, for the Bible. Okay? Going to church and hearing a sermon preach is great. So good. Do that. Listening to a sermon online is fine. You start learning how to study and read the Bible by sitting in a room, a circle of other people, discussing Bible passages together in a home group. That's the equivalent of having conversational language practice with a foreign language. Because, Lindsey, you've probably noticed, like, in your home group, when people start bringing up other insights, you're like, I never would have thought of that. That's such a good insight. You're learning the language. Mm-hmm. You're now immersing yourself in the language of Bible study and Bible reading, and that is what makes you be able to do it better. It is awkward at first. It is hard at first, and so is it when you learn a foreign language. But you have to embrace the awkward in order for you to finally do it. And then just know that reading the Bible consistently over the long haul is going to help you. When you're hearing it taught, reading it on your own, and you're talking about it in your groups, you are set up a year or 2 from now. Like, you will have grown so much in this area because of the environments that you're in that are helping you learn how to engage the Bible well. Jay, do you want to add anything to that? Like, I think maybe you were going to say something earlier.
No, honestly, that's solid. Like, don't really know that I have anything to add to that.
I think that, so like, I grew up going to Sunday school, and like, we'd read the books of the Bible or whatever. And I haven't truly read the Bible in a long time, until this last, I don't know, year, I guess. Now I'm trying to read the New Testament, and like, it's amazing. I've been using the Message. I really like the Message personally, just because it's easier for me to like really come to realize what it is that I'm reading. But yeah, like, I guess it's been so long since I've read the Bible that it's all the stories, like the first few chapters, like everything's overlapping. You're hearing the same story. So it's like that, like, it's just that the repetitiveness in it. So after you go start, it's kind of easy with Matthew, and you kind of move on.
That's good. I have my mentor and professor in Bible college named Mark Moore. I heard him on social media just the other day. Someone asked him the question, what version of the Bible should you read? And his answer was so simple. Which version should you use? He said, the one that you'll read. Like, if there's a version that you start liking and you'll read it, then do that one. Because whatever version that you're going to read, then use that one.
Nick says that the message sounds like I'm speaking in slang the whole time.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't read this. He's like, this is terrible. How do you even read this? So
he doesn't like the message.
He does not. He does not like the message.
That's funny.
What about you, JD?
Let's see here. Next question I have for you is, are there any tools that exist to understand this stuff better? Obviously, we know of some, but certainly I think this is something people might ask. Like, okay, I have my Bible and I read it, and it talks about all these historical things and all these places and all this stuff. How do I understand all of this stuff? Like, what does all of this stuff mean? And how do I understand what I'm reading?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay. So I would say, here's the deal. Preachers like me, we can do a disservice by being so knowledgeable that we make it sound like you can't truly read this thing unless you have a Bible college degree. And we're like, well, here's the historical context, and here's what this Greek word means, and this Hebrew, and let me talk about the grammar over here, and let me talk about, and while that's what we're supposed to do, is enlighten, literally expository preaching is exposing and explaining the meaning of the text, we can make it feel like inaccessible to you as you read day in and day out. And that's not our heart. That's not my heart. I want to give you tools and resources to help you learn how to study it. So here would be the first thing I would say. You do not need to know all of the history and the historical context for reading the Bible to be meaningful for you. You have the Holy Spirit inside of you. You have the church around you, and you have the Word of God. Just start engaging it. Okay, that's number one. Okay, number two. I think having a good Bible book or commentary is a great resource that can maybe help you. There's two that I would recommend, two series of books. Let me see if I can grab one right here real quick.
Uh-oh, he's pulling books off the shelves, ladies and gentlemen.
Where'd that go?
The personal library of Cy Huffer.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time finding one. Okay, there's a series in the New Testament called the For Everyone series. And it's by Tom Wright. Okay. Tom Wright. And he has taken every book in the New Testament and has written a little book that has every section of every Bible book. And he writes a little 1 or 2 pages on it. It helps explain it for you. The For Everyone series by Tom Wright. It's awesome. I would recommend getting that as your first other resources to help you understand things. And then there is a series called the Old Testament for Everyone. And I would get that as well. So if you're reading a New Testament book and you want to okay, we're going to read Mark for the very first time, I would go on Amazon, buy Mark for Everyone by Tom Wright. And every time, however he breaks down the reading and the teaching, just read that for the day. That's a great way to study the Bible. If I look on Amazon, let's say you're doing Mark for Everyone. And if you did Mark for Everyone, it's $15 to buy that book. Okay. And it will give you 8 or 10 verses to read from Mark, and then 1 or 2 pages to read by N.T. Wright that explain them. That is a fantastic way to read through the New Testament, to study any book of the Bible, is to get one of the For Everyone series. That's where I would begin. That'd be the first tool I would use. There's tons of online tools. The Blue Letter Bible. You can go buy Logos, which is a really, really intense Bible study tool. It's expensive, but I use it every day for writing sermons. It has great resources. Those would be the ones I'd start with the For Everyone series.
How can you move simply from knowing the Bible to living it out?
Great question. The other resource I would encourage you to have is a journal. I am not a diary guy. This is not the same as writing in, hey, my diary, I want to write to you today about all of my feelings and emotions and replay all these stories or conversations I had throughout the day. That's not what I mean by a journal. I'm talking about some paper, pen, where as you read, I would encourage you to read less every day and do a couple of these other things alongside reading less. I'm talking about read 8 or 10 verses. Read the Mark for Everyone book, the 1 or 2 pages, and then answer 3 questions in your journal about what you read. What do you like or find challenging? And write it out. If you, Lindsey, as you read things are confusing, write those things down. Okay? Maybe find a pastor, me, a friend, someone that knows a lot, and ask them the questions that you find challenging. Hey,
Pastor,
I read this today.
Friend, you continue.
Well, someone else.
Check all the boxes.
I'm just kidding.
But say, hey, this one, I found this challenging. Could you help me understand what's going on here? So what do you like or find challenging? Second question, what did you learn about God or yourself? Like, what did this little passage teach you about who God is and who you are? And then the third question is, what am I going to do today in response to what I've read? Like, what can I change? What can I obey? What can I do today? If you write that down and make it as concrete as possible, not, I'm going to be better today. I'm going to be more patient with my kids. Like, those are beautiful wants and desires, but you can't measure it if you obeyed it or not. It's something like, I'm going to pray for 5 minutes for more patience for my kids. That's different.
That's
right?
measurable.
That's measurable. Did you do that or not? I am going to serve my husband today. I'm going to write an encouraging note to a friend today. If you make that habit a daily habit, read less of the Bible, but you obey what you read, slowly over the long haul, you stack up enough of days where you do that, what you're reading will influence your lifestyle and it will become how you live. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're actually developing more. Bible reading is about a habit, not a habit you develop, not content that you intake. Right? This is not just about learning more about Jesus. The people that knew the most about the Bible were the Pharisees. Right? But they missed it. They missed the boat because they weren't living it out. So it's not about just knowing more about Jesus. It's about becoming like him. And the key habit is obeying what you know. So read less, but put it into practice. That would be my encouragement.
Sorry, JD, I'm going to jump real quick to go back to this. So I think that's like the biggest thing. I mean, for me, especially, like, it's that creating that habit and like getting back into that routine of reading the Bible. So like, for example, I was doing so good. I was reading the Bible every day. I was in, a small group. Then I was also doing a little small Bible study on the side. And, I got into this habit of reading every day and reading my Bible and, just what it does for you after you read for a little bit. And I'm not saying I read for hours. I might have just read a couple verses, or there's some days that I did read for a little longer than I would have. But then it's like, then summer happened and I got out of my habit and, there's no excuse. But I got out of my habit. I still did my other things, but I got out of habit of reading the Bible. And I think for me personally, like coming back now, like I reached out to Monica last week. Like for me, it's like a sense I feel a little lost because I haven't read my Bible in a while. So now it's like kind of getting back into it, trying to create that habit. I brought my Bible home with me. I think I said I was in Illinois for six weeks. I brought my Bible home with me. I might have opened it one time and there's no excuse for it, but it was there with me. You just get out of the habit. And so I think habit is a huge, if you want to speak on habit, I think habit is a huge thing.
Yeah, there's this verse in 1 Timothy 5, I think it's verse 17. It says, train yourself to be godly. And they use the word gymnazo, which is the train word. It's literally the idea where they get the word gym, like G-Y-M, gym. And it's the idea of physical training has some value, but he's saying, no, train yourself to be godly. He's not saying try to be godly or learn to be godly. He's saying train. And that's what spiritual habits are for. Like these things, going to the church, discussing in home groups, studying, reading the Bible daily. Like those are the habits, the training that produce godliness. And it's right, it's the habits. That's good stuff. JD, you got a next question? Are you the next question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you one. This one's a little pointed, but I feel like you can walk around some dangerous territory. I don't mind. So this one, rephrased from something shared with me. My family member shared a verse in a political post. How do I better understand what the verse actually means? So, not going to say which side, but ultimately, that's certainly something you're going to see plenty of. How do you help the average person who's seeing somebody use their faith in a context that they don't feel aligns with what they believe?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's these two. When you study the Bible, when you read the Bible, what people do is they take it and they're like, okay, here's my Bible. Okay, how can I get this thing right? How can I get this thing? I'm trying to show it to the camera to support my beliefs. Okay, I have these convictions, these political convictions, these moral convictions. So they scrounge through the papers of the Bible to find something that backs up what they already believe. Okay, that's called eisegesis. Okay, that's the technical term for it. Eisegesis, the prefix EIS, means into. And it means I'm trying to take meaning and put it into the text. Gotcha. I'm trying to read my convictions and put them there so that this backs up my convictions. Exegesis is the prefix EX. It means to bring out of, right? You exit the doors. That is trying to bring meaning out of the text. And what you have to do for exegesis to actually work is you have to acknowledge I have presuppositions and I have political biases that I bring to the Bible. And you have to be willing to say the Bible may agree with them or the Bible may challenge them. Okay? Because even your friend's question is like, they made that verse with this political statement and I don't agree with that. So how do I basically prove that verse wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What he's saying is, I have a political belief. That verse doesn't match my political belief. So how do I, drain the meaning of that verse to not support their political belief, but support mine? He's trying to, and I'm not saying, I don't know how they use the verse. They could have used it out of context. It could be exactly perfect. But the purpose of this question is, how do I basically use the Bible to back up what I already believe?
Right.
And that is not the purpose of the Bible.
We have to shift our thinking from that.
Is I am not over the Bible's over me.
Mm.
And if I am out of alignment with what the Bible says, something has to change. And it shouldn't be the Bible. It should be me. I need to get myself into alignment with what the Bible says, not me figure out how to make the Bible say what I want it to say. And that is way easier said than done because everyone tries to use scholarship and theology and philosophy and interpretation to twist the words of the Bible, to use it, to bring it out of context, to create another historical context that wasn't there. That's literally what so much of scholarship and denominations divide over, is how to interpret Scripture. I would encourage you to interpret Scripture with these 4 lenses. Okay, this is called the Wesleyan quadrilateral, and everyone has. I know everyone has authority. Everyone has a sense of authority that comes from something. Okay, number 1 is the Bible. That's the number 1 of the quadrilateral Bible. But we all read the Bible with a set of lenses. Okay, number 2 in the Wesleyan quadrilateral should be tradition. Okay, it's how has the church interpreted the Bible for the last 2,000 years. If you are interpreting the Bible that is new and no one has ever said that before in 2,000 years of church history, you're probably wrong. You're probably wrong, right?
Yeah.
You need to have shown no, this has been a common interpretation for 2,000 years. Number 3 is reason. Is the interpretation you're bringing about, does it make sense? Is it reasonable? Is it logical? Number 4 is your own personal experience. Is your experience helping you understand that no, this is the way the world works. This probably means this. Okay, experience is in submission to reason and tradition. The way in which, though, today we read the Bible, we invert those last 3.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We put experience next tradition and say, well, my experience says this, so let me figure out a way to reason my experience, and then let me find someone in church history that maybe said something close to this to back up what I'm saying. Right? And I would encourage you to alternate and flip those last 3. That helps you give a grid for interpreting the Bible. That's a little bit more of a technical question, but I think it's helpful to know. We do read the Bible with a series of lens, and there's a way in which to do it that is healthy for the long haul. Good stuff. Lindsey, last question.
All right. What role do you think prayer plays in before reading the Bible and during the Bible while you're reading the Bible?
No, that's a great question.
I can't speak
I
English.
think prayer. I
How do
think
they intertwine? I guess.
Yeah, I think that has become this misnomer that prayer is one thing and reading the Bible is another. When you think about prayer, what is prayer? Prayer is a conversation with God. It's talking to Him and listening to what He has to say. Okay, we kind of think of prayer as just us talking to God. Like me, I talk, and I pray for 3 hours, and it's just me endlessly talking. I wouldn't say that that's prayer. That's half of prayer, but the other half of prayer should be you listening to God. You can do that through silence and solitude, like literally sitting in the quiet and listening and just being present in God's presence. That's prayer. I think reading the Bible is prayer, because what's more God speaking to you and you listening to Him than reading His Word? Literally, the Word of God. Here it is in written form. The testimony of Jesus is diving into the Scriptures, which are God-breathed. They're useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the man and woman of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. That's what 2 Timothy 3:16 says. So prayer, reading the Bible, is prayer. It is sitting at God's feet and saying, speak to me through what I'm reading today. And so that's why I think the journal is so helpful as you read, because as you read, you're listening. Journaling, I have a hard time just talking to God and get distracted. But when I pick up a pen and I write, it helps me do so much better. And so I would say when you read the Bible, you're listening to God in prayer. When you journal, you're talking back to Him in prayer. Does that make sense? And that's a better kind of balance of understanding that both are prayer, both are engaging in the presence of God and talking to Him. But one is one half of listening, the other one is the other half of talking. That's a great question. Well,
also,
guys,
congratulations on your 1 year at church.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Super exciting. We're celebrating September 21st, 2025, 1 year of the gathering's existence. So, well, guys, thank you so much for asking those questions and helping us unpack a bit more. Like, man, what does this really look like? What does this actually look like? How you read the Bible. So thank you, JD. Thank you, Lindsey, for being a part of this today. Hey, if you have enjoyed what we've been doing here, follow us on Instagram. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Apple or Spotify. And as always, remember, you were made for more, so don't settle for anything less. Have a great day.